What's going on, guys? It's the Filthy Casual back with another video. Today we're going to discuss the state of the Barbarian class. I've been contacted by some members of the Barb community to have a chat and raise awareness of a community effort to bring some balance to Barb. I've got a real soft spot for the class. Being such a casual player, I obviously chose Barb in vanilla. I played it for about 200 hours when the game first launched and I really did like the class. I still do to this day. I played it last season and with the rogue buff it was great. I felt the class was in a really good spot, some really great speed farm options, the ability to push with multiple builds, and you could even make some wacky stuff for T13, such as my Madquake charge Barb which is in the background. Now there are some main builds for Barb for pushing. You've got Whirlwind, Earthquake, IK Hota, R6 Hota and also charge Barb. And I was considering going Barb again this season until I learned what the season theme was. So unfortunately Legacy of Nightmares for Barb sucks. It's an utterly awful theme. Barb does have some Legacy of Nightmares builds, you obviously can play them, but they're nowhere near competitive with the sets, so Barb doesn't really get to use the long buff, and I think that is a shame. You can see from the leaderboards, I did cover the top 7 builds a while back, and Barb didn't make it on there. Now I think this shows that the class just isn't as populated, basically people aren't playing it. But also on non-season it's the worst performing class, albeit it is only by a couple of GRs. But I think the upshot of what I'm getting at is that personally I think Barb does need a little bit of love, and the community effort I do think makes a lot of sense, and there is some balancing to be done. Now this has prompted some discussion on the forums and the creation of a truly excellent document that offers some changes to bring the class up to par. Mostly it focuses on providing balance to the various Barb builds, and I don't think it's the case that anybody here is seeking to have Barb completely overpowered or to get it to the top of the pile. I think balance is the key word. Now I'll link both the thread from the forum and also the website in the video description, but before we delve into some of the details, I just want to say that I do hope Blizzard don't make this oversight with the season theme in future. Now don't get me wrong, Legacy of Nightmares has been the best theme so far by a mile. I've had an absolute blast with it. I still haven't completed my season journey. I built around what the game gave me and I really enjoyed that. It reminded me a lot more of Diablo 1 and 2, finding items, growing in power slowly, rather than massive chunks at getting set bonuses, and I really did enjoy that. So it has been a good season, it is a good season theme, but if I could improve it, I would have given the Barb an item buff, similar to the late in the day love that the Demon Hunter got with the long rapid fire, just something new to try, something to play with. So all it would have taken was a number tweak or two on 1 or 2 items, and I think Barb could have had an LOM build for this season. Now as good as the season theme is and as much as I've enjoyed it, I do feel that virtually excluding one class from the benefit of the theme is a misstep, and it is unfortunate, as I say, given the season has been so successful. Now I don't really want to dwell on the negatives of the season theme for Barb, so let's look at some solutions in terms of bringing the class up to par and balancing it. Now the player who contacted me is called Free, and in conjunction with another player called Rage, they've done a fantastic job of creating a website and detailing out a document with all the issues as they see it, as well as the potential solutions. Now this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love D3 and I've based my channel around it. People love this game, the IP so much that they're so passionate they can produce all sorts of great work. The webpage is fantastic, it's really detailed, it's very well thought out, and it also acknowledges that other community members have had a hand in the suggested changes. It's great to see people so passionate about this game and the franchise, even after 7 years from its launch. Absolutely amazing. Now the document, as I say, which is linked in the description, details out the main push builds for Barb and how to balance them. The suggestion is that harder to play, harder to gear builds should be able to clear a little higher content than more forgiving ones, and that's something I'd agree with. And there's 2 lists of proposals. There's probably a basic one which is list 1 and then a bit more of a complicated and deeper list which is list 2. Now just in case the list looks a bit overwhelming and it's a bit TLDR, I'll just summarise what I think are the main points. They want to increase the toughness of the Whirlwind set, which I think it does need because it is a bit squishy. They want to buff IK Hota but without having a corresponding buff to Raycore Hota. They want to make Ancient Spear and Boulder Toss competitive with Seismic Slam. They want to bring Frenzy Legacy of Nightmares Barb back up to par with other Legacy of Nightmares builds and other top Barb builds. They argue for the return of a Rend based Barbarian build, some further LON primary skill based builds for Barb, and there's also some rework suggested for the passives, and all of it makes quite a lot of sense. Now for my 10 cents worth on the issue, I do think Whirlwind does need the extra toughness. It was probably the only build that I didn't really play last season other than its speed capacity, because I did find it was a little squishy and I was doing hardcore, so I just thought I'll concentrate on other builds that I knew were tougher. Now personally, I'm not a fan of Raycore and IK both sharing the Hammer of the Ancient skill, but if you are going to balance the two, then I do think IK does need some love, and you do need to find a way of giving it, and you do need to find a way of buffing it without buffering the Raycore build, because it's already the stronger of the two. Now if it was up to me personally, I'd change it so that the sets didn't both buff Hota in the same way. I'd probably want IK to do Hota and Raycore to do something else, so maybe somebody can rework that. Now I feel the same about Firebats with Arakia and Helltooth, and the same for Wave of Light for Innes and Sunwoku. It just seems a bit silly to have push builds with exactly the same specs. For me, build diversity is a big thing, and I think that builds that work around sets should be materially different, but that's just my opinion. In terms of buffing weapon throw and boulder toss, I think that'd be a pretty good idea. The more skills that Barb's got to use, the more skills that any class has got to use is going to be a good thing. You know, it does sometimes get a bit tedious looking at the same animation, so the ability to swap between weapon throw, boulder toss or seismic slam would be pretty cool. In terms of Legacy of Nightmares for Barb, this definitely needs looking at. I think it speaks volumes that nobody's done a jot with this all season, even when the rings are removed. So there are some items that need number tweaks somewhere along the line, and I think more primary based skill builds would be cool. I do think there are a lot of items for Barb that you could tweak the multipliers and get some decent LOM builds going, so there is quite a lot to get your teeth into in there. Now to be honest guys, I don't think I've used Rend since vanilla, so a Rend Barb would certainly be fun to try, something that hit harder, sounds appealing to me. So in summary, I think most of the changes make sense, I like most of them, and I think a shake up for Barb would be brilliant. If you want to help bring this to Blizzard's attention, drop a like on the video, see if you can get some traction on it, share it with some other people. Go on the forum, follow the link, comment on the thread, again leave a thumbs up on the initial post, tweet Blizzard, post on Reddit, just do whatever you think, whatever you can to get balance to the Barb. Now if I had to guess what will happen, I think Barb will get a buff next season. I think there will be some rework of some items or some sets. I don't see any new affixes being added, I don't see any new items, I also don't really see them reworking the passives in particularly much detail, but hopefully I'm wrong. I think it would be pretty cool if this set of changes did get implemented. Now it's also fair to say that the other classes all could do with some reworking and balancing, and I think people should work on them. I would also say that Monk didn't get any changes last patch, albeit they did benefit from the Lon theme, but I do think it is a little dull if nothing changes from each class from season to season. Generally speaking, you've got about 4 months between seasons, so I think that's plenty of time to at least tweak something for each class and give them something a little new to play with. Again, that's just my opinion. So nothing overly pro Barb. I'm not against shaking up the other classes. Diversity is a good thing in a 7-year-old game. If anybody who plays any of the classes, Monk, Necro, Demon Hunter, wants to put together a similar document and ask me for my support, then I'm certainly all ears. So that's it guys, what do you think? Should Barb be given a buff? Do there need to be balance changes? Which of the changes in the document would you most like to see? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, as always I've been the Filthy Casual, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.